You were born into a world that didn't ask how you felt. It asked what you were going to do. If you were born between 1965 and 1970, you already know exactly what I mean before I finish that sentence. You grew up watching your father leave early and come home late. You watched him sit at the dinner table in silence, not because he had nothing to say, but because he had been taught, just like you would be, that silence was strength. You were handed a rulebook early. Very early. Be strong. Figure it out. Handle your business. Don't make it someone else's problem. And so you did. Every single time, quietly, alone. My name is Gray. I'm not talking to you today as an expert or a psychologist. I'm talking to you as someone who lived this, every chapter of it. And what I want to get into today is something that men like us almost never say out loud. The psychology of who we became, and more importantly, why. To understand who you are today, you have to understand the world that built you. The late 60s, the early 70s. Your parents had just come through genuine hardship, economic instability, Cold War anxiety, a world that felt like it could shift under your feet at any moment. And they passed down the only survival tools they had ever been given. Work hard, stay steady, do not fall apart. There was no conversation about emotional intelligence in your home growing up. Nobody sat you down and said, it is okay to struggle. It is okay to not have the answer. It is okay to ask for help. If you cried, you were told to toughen up. If you were scared, you learned, very quickly, to hide it. If something broke your heart, you put it somewhere deep inside you and kept moving. Because stopping wasn't an option. Stopping meant weakness. And weakness, you were taught, was a luxury you could not afford. Now here's the part that most people miss when they talk about this generation. This wasn't cruelty from your parents. This was love, expressed in the only language they knew. Survival being passed from one generation to the next like a family heirloom. But here is what that also did to you. It taught you, at a very young age, that your feelings were a burden. Not just to the people around you, but to yourself. So you did what any intelligent person does when one door is closed. You walked through the door that was open. You built your identity around what you could control. Your work, your output, your reliability, your usefulness to others. You became the provider, the fixer, the one people called when something went wrong. You became the person who showed up, no matter what was going on inside you. And there was real pride in that. Genuine pride. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. There is something deeply meaningful about being the person others depend on. About being the steady one, the strong one. But here is what happened, slowly, without you noticing. That role became your entire sense of self. You weren't a man who worked hard. You were your work. You weren't a man who provided for his family. Providing was your identity. And this is where it becomes complicated. Because what happens when the work slows down? What happens when the children grow up and stop needing you the way they once did? What happens when you retire, or get pushed out, or the business you gave the best decades of your life to no longer needs what you built? If your identity is your role, then losing the role feels exactly like losing yourself. Not like losing a job, like losing the answer to the question, who am I? And this is the part that nobody talks about. Men in their mid-50s, late 50s, early 60s, men exactly like you and me, are quietly struggling in ways that don't have a name yet. Not dramatically, not loudly. Just a slow dimming of something that used to feel certain. You wake up and the day is wide open, and instead of feeling free, you feel strangely untethered. You sit at the dinner table and realize you haven't said anything truly real to anyone in months. Not real in the way that costs you something to say. You watch your wife or your partner talk about what she's feeling, openly, without hesitation, and you sit there and wonder when you lost access to that part of yourself, or whether you ever had it at all. Research consistently shows that men of your generation are among the loneliest demographic on the planet. Not because no one is around them, but because real, honest, vulnerable connection, the kind that requires you to let someone actually see you, was never modeled, never taught, never permitted. You were raised to be an island. And islands, no matter how beautiful, are surrounded by distance on every side. Now I want to be fair here, because there is a version of stoicism that is genuinely powerful. The ability to stay calm when everything is falling apart, to not panic, to hold the line. You developed that, and it served you in real ways. Real, important ways. But there is another version of stoicism that is simply pain, wearing a very convincing suit. It's the version where you don't cry at your father's funeral, not because you aren't devastated, but because you are too busy being the one who holds everyone else together. It's the version where you tell your son to toughen up when he's hurting, and then lie awake that night wondering why he seems to be pulling away from you. It's the version where your wife asks you, genuinely asks you, what is wrong? And you say nothing, not because nothing is wrong, but because you have no idea how to hand what you're carrying to another human being. That version of stoicism didn't protect you. It just made certain that no one ever truly knew you. And quietly, over years, you stopped truly knowing yourself. Let's talk about the people who are closest to you. Because this generation carries a very specific and very consistent pattern in relationships. You show love through action, through doing, through providing and fixing and being present without being vulnerable. You fix the car, You paid the bills without complaint. You showed up at every school event even when you were running on empty. That was love. I want to be clear about that. That absolutely is love. But the people in your life, your partner, your children, the people who chose to stay near you, they also needed to hear it. They needed you to look at them and say, I see you. I am proud of you. I am sorry. I need you. Those 4 sentences, for most men of your generation, feel almost physically impossible to say out loud. Not because you don't feel them, you do, but because somewhere in childhood, a door was quietly, firmly shut on that part of you, and no one, not once, told you the door could be opened again. Here is what I need you to hear right now. You are not broken. You are not damaged beyond repair. You were shaped by a very specific time, a very specific set of conditions. People who were themselves shaped by hardship and did the best they could with what they had. The patterns you carry, the silence, the self-sufficiency, the distance, the difficulty with vulnerability, they made complete sense for the world you grew up in. But you are not living in that world anymore. The armor that protected you then, is now the wall that keeps the people you love most from getting close to you. And the question, the only question that matters now, is not what is wrong with me. The question is, what do I do from here? I am not going to stand here and tell you what to do, but I will tell you what worked for me, and what I have watched work for men like us. It starts smaller than you think. It starts with telling one person, just one true thing about how you actually feel. Not a problem to fix, not a complaint, not something wrapped in humor to make it easier to say. Just one honest sentence. I have been feeling lost lately. I miss how things used to feel. I do not know what comes next and that frightens me. Those sentences will not break you. I promise you, they will do the exact opposite. Because the moment you say something true, something real, to another human being, the wall gets a crack in it. And light comes through cracks. You spent decades building things. A career, a reputation, a family, a life that looked, from the outside, exactly like success. And now, whether you are 55 or 60 or 68, there is a question sitting directly in front of you. What do I want the rest of this to actually look like? Not what does the world expect of me now? Not what role do I still need to fill? But genuinely, honestly, what do I want? That question probably feels uncomfortable to you. Maybe even a little selfish. It did to me. Men like us were not raised to ask what we want. We were raised to deliver what others need. So if you were born between 1965 and 1970, if anything I said today landed somewhere real inside you, I want you to sit with this for a moment before you close the tab or move on to the next thing. You are not alone in this. What you are carrying, the quiet, the distance, the unnamed feeling that something is missing, millions of men are sitting with the exact same weight right now. And the fact that you watched this far, that you stayed with this conversation, that already tells me something about you. It tells me the door isn't closed. It's just been waiting for you to reach for it. My name is Gray. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.